Morning, everybody. Just a quick note about this episode. It was recorded live at IGEL Disrupt in Nashville, so the audio quality is not the greatest. That being said, it's a fantastic episode. We have the CEO of IGEL on. We talked about Disrupt, talked about Cosmos. It's a fantastic listen, so I encourage you to stay till the end.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Barry from IGEL Community, with the IGEL Community podcast, live here in Nashville with some very intelligent folks around the table. We'll do a quick round of introductions and we'll get the conversation started. First up, David Prowse from Beacon Credit Union. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
As Barry said, my name is David Prowse. I've been with Beacon for about 15 years, which is when I started in the IT area. I have a wife, 2 kids, and been dealing with IGEL for 5-ish years. So.
I think you've been in the community longer than me, so that's hats off to you for long. I'm over 5 years in that community, so you must be closer to 6.
No. We started the community in 20th December of 2017. So I guess you were there from the
2018.
Yeah.
When I started, it was like February 28th. Don't let my wife hear this because that was our anniversary, so I don't know why I was on that day, but yeah.
So here's
I think the key to that is making sure you don't listen to the podcast with your wife in the car.
Yeah,
She will not hear it. I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I refuse to listen to my voice on these podcasts. I can't do it. But my kids want to listen to them. They don't know what we're talking about, but they want to listen to them anyway.
I make my kids listen just for punishment.
Really? Clean your room or push play?
When I'm driving somewhere and they're playing video games or they're doing something, and I'm like, I start listening to podcasts. I accidentally listen to ours.
Yeah.
Not accidentally. Sometimes accidentally. Sometimes I'm just checking to make sure. Like with y'all's the other day, what you guys did without me. And I ended up listening to the whole thing because it was entertaining.
There you go. Just 2 guys having a conversation, right?
Yeah, I was listening to it in the truck a couple weeks ago, and my daughter Sophie, my youngest, was on and knew that I was coming to this and knew that Barry was coming and was like, hey, am I going to meet him? Like, yeah, probably.
And wait, I met her last night. She didn't ask for my autograph?
No.
Figure that out.
So the other day we were listening to on the way to Charleston, South Carolina, my 2 of my kids in the car, and it was you guys, Seb and Barry, and I wasn't on it. And my daughter said, no, my youngest son, he's 13, so he's got a little bit of a edginess, spunk to him, I guess is what I would say. He's like, Dad, what happened? They didn't invite you?
You're on the outs, Andy.
That's all right. I was like, no, but listen how good it is. That's perfect.
So when will you take over XenTegra?
Oh, Andy put something on LinkedIn the other day. When Andy's 80, he's going to
Retiring
retire.
at 80. Yeah.
So let's continue on with our introductions. There's some new guests joining. Andy Whiteside, President, Founder, CEO of XenTegra.
Huge IGEL fan. Love the idea of the community. Love what IGEL is on the community. I was just talking to someone a few minutes ago about how it's been awesome and appropriate to watch IGEL and how you built the community. And because you guys did it as a community initiative and not as a business, it's real and it's perfectly appropriate.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. And my new German friend,
Hey.
German/French friend.
Yeah, true. Thank you so much. So hi, my name is Sebastian, working for IGEL for now about 9 years. I joined as a pre-sales engineer, but that's just kind of a part of my history. So definitely more technical background as some of my sales colleagues. And to be honest, it was the first time I had to work with a sales guy. So it was definitely a huge change in my life. But I went then back to the technical stuff. So I went back to the IGEL community, to the people I like. Not saying I don't like sales, but I'm feeling more comfortable with techies. So that's where I am at the moment.
What means you can't be techie and in sales at the same time? There's nothing.
Damn it, should I have said that? Because you're in the room? No, I shouldn't. No, you can, definitely. It's always on.
It's how it should be, actually.
True.
And our next guest, Mohan Khan, is a perfect example of that. Both sales and has the stuff upstairs from the technical side.
Right. I feel that being a technical person, you have an easy route. You understand how to get inside customers' mind easily than sales guys who are just talking about product features. Yes, that is important. But if a technical person comes in and they talk, it's like a doctor is talking about disease and they can correlate what you are talking about versus just keep telling me symptoms. And they keep going on symptoms without knowing where it is going.
That's a great example. I mean, doctors are selling you all the time, but they're doing it from a point of education and a point of trying to help you. Right. That's not wrong. And then what I also love about at least XenTegra as a partner, if we do that and we get it wrong, the minute we get it wrong, realize we've gotten it wrong, then just like a good doctor should be back up and go the right way.
Back up, reevaluate, and go again.
And at the end of the day, it's really good business. I mean, keeping the patient alive.
Kind of
keeping all the
important.
really good business. Number one priority. Keeping the customer engaged and trying to accomplish their goal. It's good business. It doesn't have to be transactional.
Yeah. Irfan, we're just going around the table for a quick round of introduction. Why don't you introduce yourselves, tell us about yourself, your background, and maybe tell us a bit about what you expect to get out of Disrupt this year.
Sure, absolutely. So Irfan Khursid, I run our global customer experience here at IGEL. And my background, part of the EUC community, 50 years plus. Citrix, VMware, AppSense, Ivanti.
You've seen it all.
Yeah, so I've seen it all. I've known Andy well over 10 years, I guess. And great partner, love working with you guys. And I mean, as Andy said, I mean, he hit the nail on the head. I mean, one thing that from a customer experience perspective and now working closely with Seb, I don't know if folks know, but community is now coming back to customer experience group. I'm super excited, actually looking forward to enhancing Seb's presence in the field as well. Like Citrix user group, we're looking forward to doing IGEL user groups. So look forward to those updates, working very closely with you guys.
That's big news. Let's stop on that for a second. IGEL user group?
IGEL user group.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. What is that?
So what we're gonna do is we are looking forward to think about Disrupt and bringing all of the end user compute experts. So like community is, by the techies for the techies, right?
Yeah.
So is bringing all the knowledge, all the experts, and kind of on a smaller scale, if you will, and doing training, doing enablement for our customers, for our partners. So we are thinking about doing, Seb, keep me honest, maybe 2 or 3 events here in the US and same in Europe as well this year.
What about in Great White North?
So we're not going to forget them.
Okay.
The Great North. I'm sure we'll as we make progress in the States, we'll
Fantastic. Yeah. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
I always wanted to see Quebec, so that's definitely a good one.
Well, I was telling you last podcast, I was there 2 or 3 weeks ago. Beautiful spot. Fantastic.
So Seb's going to be out on the road more in front of customers.
So Seb is going to be out more in that we are also increasing. It's not a team of one anymore in community. Renee Recker, I think it's public news now. He's moving to community. He ran services for me in the past in EMEA, but he's going to be working closely with Seb. We're also moving a few other resources under Seb. So yes, Seb. So the plan really is get Seb more in the field, more working with partners and the compute community. Kind of expanding that footprint, if you will.
Right. That's awesome. I'm thrilled to hear that. As our last guest, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you want to get out of Disrupt this year.
Sure, I'm Jason McCallum. I run the North America Professional Services Group for IGEL. And I guess for me, it's just having everyone come together and networking and making better relationships. That's really what I get out of.
Yeah, 100%.
Meeting customers, partners.
Yeah. You come to these events, like we spoke about in the last podcast, it's great to go to the technical sessions and, learn, get that knowledge. But it's also, events like this, the podcast, the hallway tracks I mentioned in the last event, that's where real value is in these events, for me anyway. I don't know if you guys agree.
Perfect. Yeah.
Well, it's by far the people networking.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
It's like
An
being on
example, that's how I met you. That's how I met Andy. It wasn't in a session.
Yeah.
Andy and I were sitting at Synergy, just happened to be sitting on the same bench, working on stuff when we met. You and I just happened to be sitting at the same table
Right.
at Synergy and started talking.
And it's funny. That's actually how I did it. I discovered, I don't know who knows this story, but that's how I discovered XenTegra. I was at Synergy in 2019, I want to say. And I was just talking to a guy in the hallway, and he said that we were talking about how I buy my licenses, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you really should talk to XenTegra. And I'd never heard of them. And I'm like, are they in Canada? No. I'm like, I can't really deal with them. And 5 years later, look where we are. So it's fantastic stuff.
Going back to the IGEL user group stuff in Canada and other markets, partners like us and others, will take what you guys do to build that community and try to, grow it out into these other markets.
Being a multiplier.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I love about XenTegra and Andy and I were spoken with is what you do, what you call the workshop style training events, right, where you bring people in. Not only you educate them, but it's also a really good networking event, right? And we are looking forward to doing more with XenTegra, and also the concept of these user groups is also to go out, enable more and more people as we can, and also obviously doing these events in person, you get more mileage out of them.
100%. Yeah. Sorry, Moni, go ahead.
Just to add to that, I think it used to always be that if someone needs an answer, they go on internet and they find it. Now there is so much of information overload that you cannot pick and choose. It's like engineering itself or trying to pick the right answer. And that's where I feel bringing everyone together, where they can socialize, they can talk in person. So we were at that people angle where you're talking to people, understanding when to digital angle where it is all digital. Now bringing it all together, that's where it has to be technology, it has to be digital, it has to be people angle to it. And that's where this community and bringing everyone together where they can share, they can talk about their issues, problems, success, all those things can be shared.
Yep.
At the same time, they're learning and making it more of a learning.
Yeah, for me, as soon as you Google something technical and you don't get on the first place, page 2 of Google is a scary, scary place. You get some sketchy stuff out there.
But occasionally you'll find your answer on page 2 and page 3, and you're like, how does this not go to the top?
Yeah. And that's people playing the game, getting their content up front. Where in the community world, I don't know what our times are, the metrics are set that you track in terms of response time, but I ask a technical question there and I get answers in minutes. It's phenomenal. So it really is, kind of the place to be for not just IGEL knowledge, but UC knowledge, technology knowledge. So it's
a place to share experiences.
Yeah.
I did it here, it worked great. I did it over here, it didn't work so great. And then people are able to share that.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, actually. What's the secret sauce of the IGEL community? You can see other companies are trying to duplicate the exact same thing that IGEL did several years ago. So I guess that's a question for you. Maybe take that on. What makes people come back and engage with the communities so often and so well?
Coming back is a good question. Why they're coming for the first time? Because they're searching for a specific term on Google or DuckDuck or whatever search engine, and they're getting on the archive side. The archive side is just to give you an idea, because we're speaking about searching, search optimizations. What you're getting in the Slack itself. So our IGEL community is based on Slack, for those who are not knowing it. And the data that you are exchanging in Slack is a private information. And that's good. From data privacy reasons, we don't want to get customer data exposed to any kind of external search engine. But from there is a tool which exports the data, makes it available on our archives.igelcommunity.com website, and makes it searchable and fixable for search engine. So that's the first thing. After, when people are there, they're usually asking a question. In the perfect world, we get an answer as fast as possible. And that, I would say, is the best source we can get at the moment to have an answer, which is pretty accurate, in a perfect world, working, and fast. Then the person is usually leaving. I mean, we have to stay realistic. We don't have people who are there from day to day and 24 hours in there. That don't happen that much. People are coming, asking questions, and leaving that. That's, by the way, my job to change that, because we want to have people engaged like you guys. I mean, you are there from the beginning on. You are the secret sauce, if you ask me. People are interacting with each other, and that's where I like also the disruptive general agile user approach. I mean, everyone who knows me knows that I like the bar also a lot. So having that kind of discussion at the bar, the networking stuff, is something which amazes me a lot, because that's where the real discussion happens. At the booth, yes, you are giving some advice on your product, etc. But the main factor that I see on events is at the evening event, networking, knowing each other. I mean, for those of you who are not knowing, we're meeting for the first time here. I've been there for more than 5 years, Barry for 5 years in the IGEL community. I wasn't there. I mean, first time in the US, by the way, for business purpose. Was really looking forward to seeing that. For that specific reason, so that's my source, I would say.
And one thing that I would add to what Seb said, so joining community is one thing, right? So one of the things that we are looking to do further is how do we make sure we keeping community kind of very interactive and engaged for people. So, for example, if I had a question, I went to a community, got my answer, and then I disappeared until my next problem. But what we are really after now is also how do we proactively do webinars, educational webinars.
Right.
Say, what, here's like 5-10 topics that our customers are so interested on learning from us and then doing a proactive webinar on community so we can reach to the masses rather than them coming to us and asking questions and disappearing. So this is something that, priority for Seb and I this year too.
And there's a huge partner community now that you can lean on. It starts with an X. Help you with those.
Absolutely. And we absolutely do.
So I want to highlight something real quick. So Jed Ayres has joined us, Jed CEO of IGEL, of course. And as Jed introduces himself or comments on what we're doing here with this community podcast around the IGEL community and XenTegra, I would just highlight that IGEL deserves a lot of credit for kind of keeping the group together. And I'm not talking about the group as in the IGEL community group or IGEL customer. I'm talking about the whole group. Whether it's AWS, VMware, Citrix, WorkSpot, Nerdio, Cameo, Microsoft, if I didn't say those guys already. We have this flywheel effect that we've had for all these years. Well, the flywheel's somewhat coming loose on us, and IGEL is doing a really good job trying to keep the user community group together so that we're all winning together. So with that, I'll let Jed introduce himself or say a few words with us. Thanks for doing it.
Well, thanks for being here. This is a cool setup, and obviously, I think we share a value around community between IGEL and XenTegra. And I don't know how many podcasts you guys have done.
76.
76.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an amazing. Life is about doing things consistently, right, and doing them well. And I guess I don't think any other partner that I can think of has probably done more than a handful of IGEL podcasts. So a special thank you to you guys for leaning in and doing something.
We get excited about doing it. I mean, we can't wait to cover the next topic. That's what makes it. That's what makes it okay, because it's just what we do. We don't have to try.
Yeah, it's like I said with the last podcast, it's like a conversation amongst friends where we're talking about a technology we truly believe in. Me coming from the customer side many moons ago, the sky's the limit, right? It really is the product for digital workspaces, and we leave it at that in terms of the marketing speak. A question for you, Jed. You just spoke briefly about the value of community. What pushes IGEL to continue to invest in the community and grow the broader community base, I guess, for lack of a better word?
Well, I mean, I think we look at it as rising tide lifts all boats, right? And the industry is going through a major inflection as we see it right now, right? As there's a reset of Citrix, a reset of VMware, you got first-party products at Microsoft today, and I think we're kind of moving across a set of technologies where we used to have VDI, right? With sort of do-it-yourself VDI, and we have cloud VDI, and now we're headed to a cloud PC, and you have just all of these remarkable things kind of coming together with the underlying way people work changing, hybrid work. I don't think we're ever going to see knowledge workers running back to an office 5 days a week. I mean, one of the things I've heard consistently from customers is that hybrid model for knowledge workers, for task workers. So I think we see all of that and we realize, hey, we need to drive this conversation. We're in a unique position to bring people together, right? It's hard for VMware to bring Citrix or HP to bring Lenovo, but because we're an operating system, we really have this unique responsibility, I would almost say, to kind of like bring it all together. And so that's kind of how we find ourselves here.
And that's not new. I mean, Microsoft had that responsibility for all these years. You guys are just stepping in as the alternative to bringing everybody together, including Microsoft.
Microsoft's a huge company, right? So when they do tech events, they don't really talk around just end user compute. I think we saw that with VMware. We see it with Nutanix. We see it with a lot of people where EUC gets a sliver of the conversation. And so that was our intent with Disrupt, was to create this community that can come together and really have this conversation in a wide open way.
Yeah, the Disrupt is the EUC conference now. There is no others. Synergy's a thing of the past. So you guys are really stepped up, and I won't say fill the void, but you guys are the go-to place for EUC community.
I wish I could have just get that soundbite and rewind back to 2017 when I flew to Germany with this idea to do Disrupt, and I sat at this huge table, twice as long as this, with all the smartest people at IGEL, and I pitched this idea of Disrupt, and went around the table, and every single person, except for one, said that we shouldn't do it. It wasn't a practical idea, and it was a bad idea. luckily, when people tell me not to do things, it usually motivates me.
And look at us now, sitting in the biggest hotel in Nashville, here we are.
Yeah.
And sometimes it helps to be good. Marketing, as Jed and I will tell you, is extremely important. And then sometimes it's just luck and timing because of the things going on with Broadcom and with VMware and Broadcom and Citrix, and the folks investing over there. You're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and I think we believe in partnering, right? We have these core values around integrity and trust and partnering. And if you can get those three things right, you can unlock a lot of innovation, right? And I would say it's more than just logos on a slide. It's really about building personal relationships, right? I mean, sitting outside the door before I walked in, you have Christian Brinkhoff and Frederick, and it's just like, these are intimate, high trust, high integrity relationships that are fueling this, right? Where you get speed because you have trust. And I think that's part of the DNA of IGEL. You should know this, right? Like probably a lot of the partners you work with, they dabble in selling direct. And that's one thing I love about IGEL is that we've got this universal 2-decade-long concept of selling entirely through the channel. And so I think it's just like, it's embedded in how we go to market as in every facet of what we do is sort of like
Selling together, not transacting direct for the greater good of everybody involved.
exactly. And I think we see, and I hope that you'll feel that the fact here that the solution provider is actually more important than ever right now. And yet you might kind of look at it and go, oh, well, it's all going to come from the cloud and they'll just buy it directly, you know. And so like, but we see it exactly the opposite. And maybe I'm biased because I spent 20 years in the solution provider space, but I think you can look at history and see that this sort of trusted advisor model that I think you guys embody. It's, yeah, there's always going to be some facet of this technology where you guys are going to come alongside and make it real and drive a better outcome.
Not everybody has the technical experience to go and implement something in the cloud. You gotta have a partner. We're kind of on the borderline of my company on whether we're large enough to hire our own or just outsource it to someone like XenTegra. So.
Yeah, I think the solution selling, as Jed mentioned, and you touched as well, this is where the partnerships are so important, like, you know, XenTegra. When I go talk to customers, I mean, the number one thing they tell me, hey, tell your sellers not just sell me a product, sell me a solution, right? And that solution is just, it's not just IGEL, it's, you know, expertise from XenTegra, expertise from our wider channel community, right? And making sure that the customer is actually getting the best out of the product and services that we're offering. So this is where I think this ecosystem with the channel, with the community is so important.
And this is where I feel that a lot of time, if we just talk about product itself cannot work and there's no one size that fits all. So that's why in enterprise, when you go with just the product, it fails. No one understands that it is not only one product, it's a combination of things that makes a solution work. So when we talk about IGEL, there is when I go and talk to customer, there's always Lenovo comes in and says, IGEL is selling hardware, where do we fit? Seems like we are competing. And like, no, there's no competition. You don't understand, it is complementing each other. It is an operating system, it's not a hardware. It is you are making a hardware and they work together. So this is where this morning when I was sitting, I said, everyone Microsoft does, which is more focused on Microsoft, Citrix is more focused on Citrix. IGEL Disrupt is the only one where I see that we are pulling all the partners together, be it ControlUp, Lenovo, LG, all these things that make solution work. And we have to collectively work together on making something that is benefitable to customer and not something that just go stick a software in and
say, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Right? This is an important saying. I think nothing in this, you don't buy one thing and get a great, you know, virtual app or virtual desktop solution. You need, you know, some amalgamation of the 42 people that will be in the expo hall they're assembling downstairs right now.
I mean, there's no one that's right for everything. There's no one that's wrong for everything. It's a combination of, in my mind, you educate potential customers and existing customers into what the options are, help them formulate their own solution, then everything else falls into that.
That's where the community is taking in. If you think about the getting started guide, think about the West Web topic. Even if our solution is, I would say, easy if you understand our way of thinking, you will still need support. You will still need a supported way to get the solution up and running. That's where we are trying as an Agile community to share the information to enable you as a partner, as a customer, to learn from us and learn from our experience without taking out the message that you need a partner to implement it, or you need services to implement it on a proper way. But we're at least sharing the idea, sharing the seed of the information that you might need to implement our solution. That's a power of the community.
I think it also goes back to how we design the product, right? And how we're building the product today, because the one word you'll hear, or two words you'll hear from Matthias probably quite often on the big stage is choice and flexibility. I mean, everybody that we go talk to has some infrastructure and some way that they're doing things today, and they want to move in a certain direction, right? And so like giving customers choice, giving them flexibility, having a product that can allow for that, right? If you love HP thin clients, we got a path. If you love Lenovo laptops, if you're a hospital and you love LG, if you want to go from Citrix to AVD, if you want to use both, I mean, this is part of what we're trying to design, is something that doesn't force people. And even as we introduce this new Cosmos, right, we're saying, hey, if you want to stay on OS 11 and try out 12, you get all these new features. You don't even have to pay if you're under subscription or maintenance. You can do both with UMS 12. And it's a lot of companies, when they would unleash the amount of innovation we're going to showcase here, they would charge dearly for that, right? And so one of the things I'm very proud of is that we're actually in a position to be able to say, hey, you get all this new onboarding functionality.
But I'm actually glad you brought up what's going to be discussed this week. So what, if you can, give us the Cole's notes of what we're going to be talking, what we're going to consume this weekend or this week from the IGEL team. What are we going to be discussing on stage? We don't want to be the nitty and gritty. Just a sneak peek, if you will.
Obviously, the most important part of it is you're going to hear from some great customers that are using IGEL. Lots of healthcare customers, just because we happen to be sitting in Nashville, which seems to be world headquarters for live music, bachelorette parties, and healthcare. What's that?
That the healthcare can last.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're gonna, obviously we're gonna reveal our Cosmos platform, which really I think has a number of really amazing new benefits in terms of how a Linux solution can be delivered. It's not a monolithic block of code, but it's really bite-sized capacity for a customer to build their own image on the fly with the right pieces. So smaller, more secure, easier to manage. It's kind of our iTunes moment, right? Where we're opening up the entire IGEL stack of technology is now going to be considered an app. Even the operating system is an app, right? And so every piece that you would think about, you kind of build yourself. So you're not waiting for IGEL for 6 or 8 weeks. Like we used to brag about how we would be able to lift, and shift that out, or even create private builds and all the nightmares that created. So this app portal concept is super revolutionary.
Game changer.
Total game changer. So you're going to hear from a couple customers that in the pilot put it into production because they're so pumped about it. Yeah.
So can we talk about that real quick? So this space, which you and I and all of us in this room have been around a long time, that is the thin client space, which used to be software, hardware. You guys are changing the game and making it software. The hardware is commodity that covers. My statement to people all the time for the last 20 years of watching the thin client space is it's always been seen as a minimal viable product for use cases when it just could fit. Whereas what you guys are doing is making it a product that you lead with, and you have for the last 10 years now. But now we're taking it a whole other step further and setting the bar even higher. Meanwhile, the competition seems to be stuck in minimal viable product.
Yeah, I think one of the questions you'll hear us ask every customer that comes up on the stage that's looked at this, right, is like, what new use cases do you see? And the number one thing you're going to hear is that knowledge workers can use this, right? Well, why? Because knowledge workers are using a handful of apps, and they've got this ridiculously expensive operating system on a really expensive piece of hardware that they're refreshing every 3 years, which isn't good for the earth, which I know you care about. And so, this is sort of like, I think, the moment where we have to look at each other in the eye and go, is the fat client like really the right way to do this, right? Can we get away with the sort of just enough OS with apps delivered from the cloud, right? And have a much longer hardware life cycle, a much more secure, way easier to manage. You're going to see a customer on the stage who has 50,000 devices, and he looks at it with one eye once a week, right? And you asked him like, why can you get away with this? Well, it's such a difference from Windows, right? And the giant Tuesday patch, Thursday patch, Saturday patch.
Which to be fair to them, and they're embracing this too, because they want you to use that lightweight endpoint to get to their solution in the cloud. Absolutely. And to be fair, they grew up at a different time where you needed a computer that could do everything. And whatever it couldn't do today, whatever wasn't expected of today, it could do tomorrow. But that's not the world we live in today. Plus, hybrid work, plus massive security concerns.
Management concerns.
Concerns. The cost of maintaining it. It's time for all of us to think of the way you look at the endpoint differently.
Yeah. So back to your question, I think you guys are going to see, a great IGEL, product introduction. There's some great things on onboarding that you'll see in terms of how we're actually able to take a device out of the box, 3 clicks, less than 5 minutes, bring it into a cloud workspace. You're going to see some really slick things with Imprivata, and I'm really happy to say Imprivata's here, right? We really have made some breakthroughs with them in terms of some tap and go workflow. So you're going to see some things with Microsoft around that. I guess I'm also excited to say like WorkSpot's making big product announcements, ControlUp's making product announcements. So to your point of like this being an EUC event, like you kind of feel like you've arrived when the M7 guys are throwing a party and there's 5 or 6 big companies making product announcements. Sorry about the M7 thing, but I know you guys are throwing a big party also.
I'll get to theirs then.
Yeah.
Here's your chance to plug your party, Andy.
Yeah.
So yes, we will be hosting a party tonight, right?
Okay.
Yes, tonight. Yeah.
Final Four. It's going to be a good game. I think. Who are you rooting for?
Who's in it?
San Diego.
Just kidding. I'm always for the underdog, so San Diego.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm always underdog. Which that's fine, Joe. I mean, like the disruptor, the upstart, the challenge the status quo.
Hmm.
If you've been around me long enough, I will challenge the status quo all day, every day.
I'd kind of push back a little bit on being the underdog. IGEL is not an underdog anymore. They're really there.
Definitely there in terms of concepts and solutions. We just got a lot of people we got to go shake and wake up.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
That's a very, and we were talking about doing a conversion workshop, starting a reoccurring conversion workshop that we are doing once a month, every Friday. We'll start with IGEL, but we want a backend attached with it. So we will do with Citrix, with Horizon, with WorkSpot. Okay, fine. Now we need to have a hardware attached to it. Lenovo and LG and HP. Then comes, we need to think about ControlUp as well, because ControlUp plays really well with all these things. And you can say, did you think about ServiceNow? That is also important. And now we are going from where it was one product, 2 hours of a conversion workshop that we were planning. Now it is 8 hours.
Now it's a PhD.
Well,
Yeah. No one wants to see
the focus, and it really ties back into this. The focus is around what IGEL is doing that brings all of those guys together.
Yeah.
Have you seen the partner result?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that's important that you'll see around IGEL Ready, this ecosystem we built, right? It went to 130 logos on that NASCAR flag, but we're really recentering that, and you'll see us announce something around IGEL Certified. Okay. And that really just centers around, IGEL has tested this, IGEL supports this, and it manifests itself in the app portal that we just spoke of, and also on the hardware side. So even though we got out of the hardware business, we're now in the business of, we used to have 3 pieces of hardware, and it was our job to kind of make sure that our OS worked on 3 devices. So now, we have Lenovo wants 27 devices certified, right? HP has a similar portfolio. LG, so we're now building out a whole floor in Augsburg around, certifying that, so that when customers walk up, they know if it's got IGEL Ready certified, that this is a product that they can rely on for 8 years and know that it can ingest the latest apps and work. And we've tested it. you can imagine that's a pretty big regression test
Yeah.
process. And so we've given up, one of the great things about this new app portal is the actual manufacturers like Zoom and Cisco and Microsoft and Citrix, they're actually doing the work through an SDK. So we've given some of that workload to them, but what we get there, we now have to pull in the QA side of things, right, to make sure that the hardware that you want to use IGEL on is certified.
So I have that slide that we were talking about a minute ago, the NASCAR slide, and I have the slide and animation pops up and it says it takes a village. And that's what IGEL gives. It takes a village working together in harmony.
Yeah.
So I talked to you a little bit about the big stage stuff, but what I'm actually excited about is there's like 44 breakouts. Like you guys have one on service now, I think. There's just deep technical, workshops. There's a boot camp going on, starting in about an hour with Nerdio and Microsoft, and so yeah, there's a lot of like people that have flown in from around the world that are, have put a lot of time and energy into these technical breakouts. There's over 2 women in IT sessions, which should be a good opportunity for people to think about diversity in this male-oriented world we live in.
Oh yeah.
So Helen will be hosting that, and it's really actually kind of a fascinating thing where she's inverted it, right? She's like, all right, well, lean into helping men understand how to mentor women, and so you can be an ally. So I'm excited. Obviously, a lot of things happening here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy few weeks. I woke up this morning, I looked at my calendar, and I'm like, oh, it's no time for lunch. It's gonna be a busy few days. Just on the topic of time, I know you got things to do, Jed. So what's the takeaway from Disrupt this year? When we leave, when we go home to our houses and our families, to our jobs, what have we taken away from Disrupt?
I think everybody's going to feel like, hey, we're at this inflection point in the market, right, where the world is looking at a cloud-delivered PC, and that because of all the things we talked about before, the world is ready for it, right? And so I think that the takeaway is like, let's lock arms as a village and really change the way that the 500 million enterprise PCs are set up today. Because there's a better way, right? And this may be a small little community, but it's a mighty community. And I think we have a real opportunity to think about how that evolution of the worker. And at the end of the day, the worker just wants to do their job, right? And they want to do it in a way that's how freaked out you get when you can't access your email or you get locked out of your computer. Like, you just don't want that stomach ache, right? You want people to feel confident, and they're in an emergency room and they tap in, it just works. I love these stories of the people that chase the devices to have the IGEL logo on them because they know they're the ones that are going to work.
That's awesome.
So I think that's what I hope for, right? Is that we all write history together. And Bill Gates wanted a PC on every desk, right? I think Satya wants a PC, out of the cloud for everybody on any device that they pick up, right? I think the next generation expects this already.
And the biggest thing, to your point, is the security. We are living in a scary world now with all those things, and that's the biggest thing that I feel that IGEL gives them, that they can leave. Today they can put the expensive device and always be scared that this device will get compromised.
Or they can get them.
Yeah, so I think I would just hope everybody feels super energized. They also feel like that that there's that it's not a bloodbath in the street, that we're actually all here to help each other, right? And that there's like a lot of camaraderie here, and this is about helping each other build a brighter future for this space.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I know you got to run, so I'll leave you with this. Let's pencil you in for another live podcast in Munich next year.
Perfect.
And we'll look back on.
I like this.
I assume it's going to be one in Munich. I'm just guessing here.
And it will be in German, so.
You need a new host. I barely speak English. I'm in German.
Thank you guys for being great partners and doing this.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Really is something special. And I look forward to your TED Talk. I guess it's the end of the morning on you're back in
Tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah. So
There's just one takeaway maybe for the EMEA guys who are listening. Hotels in the US are huge.
Definitely bigger than.
So now,
This is
Seb,
a small city.
Lots more.
so when I was telling, we were, when we were in Munich, so in Infinity Hotel, and they were saying, oh, look how massive this hotel is. I said, wait till you get to Nashville. So now I guess you can attest to that.
Like I said before, the kind of hotels are called towns.
Yeah.
It's not a hotel. I mean,
They're not all like this.
I heard
Vegas is
that.
way worse.
I'm prepared now. I
No,
have a
you're
huge
not.
expectation.
Yeah, you're
Yeah. Imagine 50 of these. That's what Vegas.
They're all tied together.
Yeah.
That
And
is
it looks
so
like
true.
it's right there, but it's like 8 miles away. We walk and walk
And
and
you never
walk. and
leave
then-
the hotel. I mean, you're just working from one hotel to the other.
Yeah.
And then you have to go through casino every time, so they
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
tempting enough for you to walk.
Always bet on black.
Yeah.
Rule of thumb. All right. Okay, with that, I guess we'll wrap it up, yeah? Any further questions? Anything else want to chat about anything before we call our podcast?
So Barry, what do you expect to get out of this?
I want to learn more about Cosmos and why it's all spelled in caps.
Hmm.
You ever notice that in marketing? It's always in caps.
Wait till Matthias' session, yes.
Oh, is that revealed?
They're gonna talk about how in Munich, there was also a question like, where did the name come from?
Yeah.
And then why this is on in uppercase. So
Okay,
yes.
so there is a
So stay
reason.
tuned, yes.
Okay, because
Yeah.
you and I think it was you and I were talking about that. Well, you must stand for something.
Or if he doesn't stay on the stage, take him, offline. And because
At the party
Matthias would
tonight, like
be-
give him a beer, give him the
Yeah.
inside scoop.
Exactly.
So Barry, you're kind of new to this world. I'll tell you one thing, all marketing people are liars. But if the right technical guys are behind them, it doesn't have to be a lie.
Okay, I'll buy that.
I want to say it's a lie. It's not true.
Not true. Who's in marketing, right?
Well, no, what I'm saying, Moen, you're not wrong.
Oh, here we go.
But it's okay if it helps us drive the message forward, especially if there's guys like in the IGEL community and sitting around this table that make what the marketing guy just said accurate and right. And that's the point I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Are we talking about cloud PC this week? I think we're going to. Is it the right solution for everybody? Marketing might tell you it is. We have to make sure that the appropriate cloud PC
Correct.
is right for you.
So that's where the technical and marketing differ. Marketing always say yes, and technical always say depends.
It's a consulting answer. There you go. Well, it really depends if I scratch my chin. Okay, good. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.